All right, folks, this is a live Oklahoma weather alert here. We are right around 9:26, William Cole here in the forecast center. We continue to track a line of severe weather basically moving through Oklahoma. Now it's starting to basically approach and move into the Oklahoma City metro and also the Tulsa metro as well. Severe thunderstorm warning now for Oklahoma County and also for Tulsa County as well. Our team of trackers, they've been out there again as we've gone through the evening as well. So let's go and dive into this. This is basically the very latest. This is what's now going on. And again, we basically have just this line of storms. And again, we have a cool front moving through Oklahoma as well. And again, it's, obviously very hot, very humid as we went through the day. And as that cool front basically continues to sag into Oklahoma, that's basically the trigger now to get these scattered showers and thunderstorms to develop. And this line is basically severe, the entire line from southwestern Oklahoma into central Oklahoma, into portions of northeastern Oklahoma. Locally heavy rain possible, vivid lightning, but the primary threat with this activity, at least the way it looks right now, it is going to be winds 60 plus miles per hour. That is possible here in central Oklahoma, and that is also possible up in the Tulsa metro as well. There's a different perspective of that activity, but let's go and take a look at our higher resolution radar. This is Mesoscan XR, and let's go and kind of start walking the line here, and we'll go and kind of zoom in and take a look at some different geographical areas. And I want to zoom into central Oklahoma first of all here. And as we do that, we have a couple different things going on. So we currently have a gust front ahead of the activity moving through. And the gust front, it's got some 30 and 40 mile per hour winds. We'll take a look at velocities here in a second. But this little green line you're seeing there, so that's the gust front. The reason why we're picking up on that on radar is because as the winds blowing from the northwest to the southeast out of this activity, it's actually kicking up some dust, a little bit of debris, and we're actually picking up on that on radar. So these are 30, 40 mile per hour winds here, but then we've got some stronger winds even back in the actual rain cores of the activity. So let's go and kind of analyze this a little bit further here. And as we do that, and what I mean by that is what we're going to do, we're going to look at velocities. And this is what the radar is estimating with this activity. So again, like I mentioned, kind of the leading edge, the initial blue line, or green line rather, you're seeing there. Again, these are some 30 and 40 mile per hour winds, basically approaching downtown Oklahoma City. We'll take a look at our downtown Oklahoma City cam here in just a second to see this as it comes through. But as you get back into portions of northwestern Oklahoma County, far northeastern portions of Canadian County, you see those brighter greens. And even though I know that sounds kind of basic, but the brighter greens, that's brighter wind flow. And I'll go and kind of sample some of these, but these easily could be 50 and 60 mile per hour winds. In fact, maybe 10 minutes ago, that looked like we maybe still even had some 70 mile per hour winds near Northwest Highway. So let's go and zoom in here. And as we do that, and as I'm kind of sampling this here with the cursor, there's still, especially out here in Canadian County, there's easily some 50 to near 60 mile per hour winds, and even in the village as well, also just northeast of Bethany. So as I'm kind of moving the cursor where you see where it is, again, I'm able to kind of sample here on radar and see what the winds are. And again, there's still easily some 60 plus mile per hour winds that are coming on into the metro. And in fact, let's go and quickly take a look at our downtown Oklahoma City cam. Kind of as this activity starts to move on in. Now, there's no precipitation, there's no rain currently in downtown Oklahoma City, but let's just kind of see what the winds are doing just real quickly, and then we'll get right back to radar. But let me just go and kind of switch this over. So again, that's downtown Oklahoma City. You kind of see the vivid lightning there off in the distance. And we've had a lot of luck with our downtown Oklahoma City cam as rain and thunderstorm activities come through that we've been able to kind of judge as far as, again, just from kind of what we're seeing, what the wind speeds are like. So at least right now, there's not a lot going on. So as that gust front's coming through, maybe 30, maybe 40 mile per hour winds, that's nothing major at this time. Now, again, as the additional activity and you kind of see the lightning lighting up the sky approaches, we'll be able to see kind of what's happening there in real time, again, as that moves through downtown Oklahoma City. So let's switch back over to radar here. And again, we're still basically in velocity mode. Again, still just looking at wind gust and wind speeds here in central Oklahoma. But again, the main thing we're seeing here from the forecast center is that there's still at least definitely an opportunity, again, for some 60 mile per hour winds. So it's not really going to be along that gust front. So the reason why the colors are red and green, just to kind of explain this to you while this is happening. So the radar site, the next round radar site, it's down here in northeastern Cleveland County. The green is inbound winds moving towards the radar site. The red is southerly winds. So right here, that's the leading edge of the gust front moving towards the radar site. But that leading edge, again, kind of with those darker greens, again, you can see that's only maybe 30, 40 mile per hour winds. But again, once you get a little bit deeper into the activity there, and into the actual rain, and you've seen those brighter greens, well, that's when we're talking about at least that possibility for some 60+ mile per hour winds. Now, as we've gone through the day, we've had several reports of 70+ mile per hour winds. And in fact, even for our friends up in Fairview, up in Major County, we had some fairly substantial damage up there with some roofs taken off and some roof damage. And so these storms, even though it's a fairly narrow band of activity, they've really packed a punch. And the primary punch that they packed today, it has been the winds. And so even here in the metro, don't let your guard down as these storms come through, especially with some of the velocity data we're looking at here. There easily could be some 60 mile per hour winds with this activity. But again, the gust front basically moving through downtown right now. And again, that's going to continue tracking towards more Norman. All this activity is going to be tracking towards the South Metro as well. So let's go and kind of zoom this out. And what I want to do, I want to go up to the Tulsa Metro next and talk about what's going on there, because again, activity basically imminent in the Tulsa Metro as well, basically up around the Skiatook area right now, also moving through Ramona. This activity has also moved through Bartlesville over the last 30-45 minutes, but again, this is now going to be approaching the Tulsa Metro. Easily 60 mile per hour winds possible plus in the Tulsa Metro, and again, that opportunity for locally heavy rain and vivid lightning as well. So again, even if you're in the Tulsa Metro, don't let your guard down with these storms, even though it looks like a fairly thin band of activity. Again, like I said, as we've gone through the late afternoon and the evening, this activity, it really has packed a punch. And again, we've had winds in excess of 70 miles per hour. Not saying we're going to see 70 mile per hour winds now, but it is within the realm of possibilities. But right now it looks like primarily 50 and 60 mile per hour winds. That can still do some damage, and that can also still cause some power outages. So keep that in mind. So let's go and kind of zoom out. And I want to go out into western Oklahoma here as well. And as we do that, the main reason I want to do that is we've had some hailstorms out here in western Oklahoma. Now the threat is still 60+ mile per hour winds even out here in western Oklahoma. But as we take a look at the hail core tracker, again, outside of really western Oklahoma, hail isn't really a big threat with any of this activity. But again, out here in western Oklahoma, as we look specifically at the hail core tracker here, around the Eakley area, you see that hail core there, $half size plus possible, and also down around the Granite area. That's going to be down there in Greer County. You see that yellow going to red. So that's a small hail core, but that easily could be almost approaching ping pong ball size. So for the most part, hail is really not a factor throughout this line, but there's just a few pockets where we do have some hail cores. And again, Eakley is also one of those locations there. Again, with that $half size hail also possible. Also up around El Reno, let's take a look at that. And again, keep in mind, we're just kind of looking at hail cores here. So this was the activity up near Calumet. Probably 30 minutes ago, we had a fairly vigorous hail core up around Calumet where we had some larger than $half size hail. But you folks there in El Reno, again, not only are you going to get rain, but in El Reno, we're also going to see some of this quarter, maybe a little bit larger, could possibly go to $half there in the yellow. But again, this activity, you see it there, it's basically moving through El Reno, Highway 81, I-40, again, out there in Canadian County. So again, just to kind of reiterate, hail's not the primary concern with this activity. We do have a couple of hail pockets around the state, but it's primarily wind as this line of storms continues to basically punch on in, now moving from the northwest to the southeast across Oklahoma. So let me go and give you a broad view again. And again, I know we've got people from all around Oklahoma that are watching. So again, we try and kind of cover all the geography of Oklahoma. So again, if we're not talking about your location, again, we will here over the next few minutes. And what we're going to do here in a second, we're basically going to walk the line from northeastern Oklahoma all the way back down into southwestern Oklahoma and kind of give you a radar update. But I want to touch on the Oklahoma City Metro here just one more time. Again, because we do have that gust front moving on through, and it looks like even the precipitation, the rain, it's kind of accelerated here just a little bit. You see how the rain is actually trying to catch up with the gust front, and so it's moving quite a bit quicker now than it was just a few minutes ago. So this is now rapidly even accelerating. You see it accelerating now in portions of central Oklahoma. A gust front through downtown Oklahoma City, winds 30-40 miles per hour there. But again, let's go back to velocities, and again, we'll take a look at the actual wind flow within the storm. So let's go back to velocities here. And as we do that, again, I just want to underscore one more time that, again, even though these storms, they look a little wimpy on radar, they continue to pack a punch. And so what we're looking at here, this is just wind flow within the storm. And so again, that's where the gust front is, 30-40 mile per hour winds there. But again, as you get back into the precipitation part of this storm, you see these kind of hot pockets of green. The hot pockets of green, that's easily 50, 60, and maybe even stronger than 60-mile-per-hour winds. We've had a couple reports of some 70-mile-per-hour winds as we've gone through the late afternoon and the evening. We've had some wind damage up around the Fairview area. So like I said, these storms are a little misleading. It's just such a thin band. You kind of look at radar and you think, well, not really a big deal by Oklahoma standards, but these are. Again, they're packing a punch. And again, we're seeing it now, again, even moving into central Oklahoma. Again, winds easily 60-plus miles per hour there in the brighter green areas of velocity. So let's also look quickly here at the hail core tracker. So again, just to kind of reiterate one more time, at least here in Oklahoma County, central Oklahoma, there's a bit of a hail core out around Reno, quarter to maybe $half size. But again, here in at least Oklahoma County, Cleveland County, again, what we're going to be talking about is locally heavy rain. But again, it's also going to be that wind threat as it comes on through there as well. We're going to take another look at our downtown Oklahoma City cam. Also, we're going to take a look at our North Norman cam here in just a minute as well. But what I want to do, I want to talk about what's going on up here in Payne County. We've got a fairly vigorous hail core, and this is going to be just southeast of the Stillwater area. In fact, now south of Perkins. In fact, this is now down in Lincoln County. This is actually outside of the actual warning box. The Weather Service are probably going to have to extend this warning now further to the south. Lincoln County here, Chandler, I-44, just to orient you, there's Perkins. And again, you see this hail core here. We're not talking about widespread hail today. We've got a couple pockets of hail. Hail's not really the primary threat, but this easily could possibly be some ping pong ball size hail. That's going to be tracking towards Tyrone there, also down towards Kearney. But again, that's a fairly vigorous little hail core there, south of Perkins and also south of Stillwater. And you see that even kind of getting a little bit stronger there with the new sweep that just came through there. So let's talk about what's going on in northeastern Oklahoma there as well. And again, you can also see that locally heavy rain again south of Stillwater. You folks there in Stillwater, it's been raining for quite some time. So there could even be some localized street flooding around the Stillwater area and really a good portion of Payne County there. Let's go back into northeastern Oklahoma. And again, we're trying to kind of keep the radar moving here as much as possible. Again, we don't just cover Oklahoma City or Tulsa, or we don't just have a little TV market that we cover. Of course, we cover all of Oklahoma. So again, we kind of have to move the radar around a lot. So just bear with us. Again, we'll talk about your location here fairly quickly. But let's zoom into the Tulsa Metro. And as we do that, again, you can see this activity still approaching from the northwest. So downtown Tulsa, it's still dry. Owasso, it's still dry. Jinx, Bixby, it's still dry. But again, this activity continues to approach there from the northwest. And over the next 30 minutes or so, it will be raining in Tulsa. And again, keep in mind, even up around T-Town, the Tulsa Metro, there will be an opportunity for some 60-plus mile-per-hour winds in that part of the state as well. So keep that in mind. In the far northeastern Oklahoma here, again, you can see basically from Miami, Veneta, even back down through Grove now in Delaware County there, and then basically back over through Newada. Again, locally heavy rain, Veneta. Get an opportunity for 60-mile-per-hour winds through there as well, vivid lightning. So basically the main takeaway as we move the radar around, there is that opportunity for 60-plus mile-per-hour winds, and again, extremely vivid lightning with this activity as well. Let's go back into portions of western Oklahoma, then we'll come back here into central Oklahoma. I want to take another look at the hail core tracker out here in western Oklahoma. And as we do that, the reason why is because, like I said, we just kind of have some scattered hail cores. We don't have a lot of organized hail activity this evening. But again, over here near the Eakley area, that's been hanging out there for a little while. So again, at least some $half possible in Eakley. And then also back over here near the Granite area, that's going to be down there in Greer County, potentially moving there into portions of Kiowa County, Lugert, down around Lake Lugert as well. So again, there's an opportunity for some $half size hail there. You see the aquas going to yellows. Again, this is the hail core tracker, and then possibly some dime size hail, maybe some dimes there approaching the Hobart area from the northwest. So let's go back to reflectivity and just kind of the normal radar mode here. And as we do that, again, the other takeaway from this, it is the locally heavy rain, and it is the vivid lightning, and again, it is the winds, at least the possibility of winds near 60 miles per hour. Now, again, as you look at this line, if you've lived in Oklahoma very long, you see it's just kind of a skinny, scrawny little line. You think, well, this really isn't that big of a deal, especially by Oklahoma standards, but that's definitely not the case. We've had mesonet confirmed wind gusts as we've gone through the afternoon, evening of 70-plus miles per hour. We've had some spotter estimates, 70-plus miles per hour. And again, our friends up in Fairview, they really took it on the chin up in Major County. There was some fairly significant roof damage in the Fairview area. Again, all from damaging wind gusts. So again, these storms, they are packing a punch. Don't take these storms lightly. Again, we had a lot of humidity out there today. Temperatures tapped 90 in a good portion of Oklahoma, so things are extremely unstable still, even early this evening as well. Let's go back into central Oklahoma, and we're going to do a couple things. We're going to take a look at a couple of our live cams here in central Oklahoma as well. Now, the Weather Service, they did go ahead and extend this warning in central Oklahoma back into portions of Mustang, Newcastle, and Bridge Creek. And this is exactly where we've been picking up, as we go back to velocities, the higher velocity wind gusts. So this is what we've been talking about here when we've been talking about central Oklahoma. So this is Oklahoma County, Cleveland County, Canadian County there rather, and then portions of McLean County down here. So as we take a look at winds here, again, the brighter the greens, the stronger the winds, the stronger damaging wind gust. And you see that's where the pocket of at least 50, 60, maybe 60 plus mile per hour winds are coming right there into the Yukon area. So that's why we have this new warning here, because the pocket of damaging wind gusts there in Canadian County, in general, that's going to be tracking down towards the Mustang area, Bridge Creek, Newcastle eventually. Again, if this activity holds its current strength, again, it's going to be tracking down towards those locations, even potentially towards the western sides of Moore as well. But again, these are winds easily 60 miles per hour. So again, don't take this lightly. Again, if you do have lawn furniture, things like that, it's summertime still in Oklahoma outside. Keep in mind there's lightning. Now's not the time to really run out and grab it. But keep in mind, again, these storms, they will be quite gusty, again, as they come on through. In fact, the warning on the eastern flank of the storm, the Weather Service has actually now let that expire. And the main reason for that, again, it is because of the damaging winds. So up here in Edmond, Arcadia, the far eastern portions of Oklahoma County, the warning there, the Weather Service just expired. And the reason why, it's because the winds through here, 30, 40, maybe 50 miles per hour, but they're below severe limits. But again, right here, it's this pocket, and you just see it right there, those brighter greens, and we're going to zoom in on this. That's even approaching Union City, but these are damaging wind gusts there, and that's easily 60 plus miles per hour. So let's go and take a look. That's kind of the new focus, at least here in central Oklahoma, as far as the damaging wind gusts go. And we'll take a look up in northeastern Oklahoma again here in just a second. But let's go and switch this around. And as we do that, again, basically on I-40 right now. And again, I know this isn't a great, presentation when we're just talking about bright greens, but this is honestly how you read a radar. And this is called wind velocities. And these are basically inbound winds. The green is inbound towards the radar site. And again, what a radar operator does, same thing the National Weather Service does, you just have to kind of look at these intensities within the wind flow. And again, the brighter the greens, and that's what we're seeing. So there are kind of the darker greens. Those are not as high velocity winds. But again, as you get into these brighter greens right there along I-40, moving through Yukon, potentially moving down towards the Mustang area, moving through Union City right there. Again, the brighter pockets of green, again, that's where the 50, 60, and maybe even 60 plus mile per hour winds are. So keep in mind, these storms, they are still packing a punch, again, as they come on in there from the northwest. So let's go back to our reflectivity here. And again, outside of the wind threat, let's also talk about who's seeing rain first here in central Oklahoma as well. And again, we'll take another look at our downtown Oklahoma City cam, because basically in Oklahoma County, the rain is basically bearing on in right now. So let's go and take a look at the live cam. This is downtown Oklahoma City, and we'll check our North Norman cam here in just a second as well. So it looks like most of the activity there just north still of downtown. It doesn't look like we're actually seeing any rain quite this second, but this will also be a fairly good gauge. I really like this downtown cam, because as storms come in, we're really able to gauge as far as how the wind is whipping around the rain curtains, again, how strong the wind actually is. But again, you can kind of see the lightning. Now, that's actually light from the peak right over there. But again, as you kind of watch the sky, you'll actually see the lightning lighted up here as we go really over the next few minutes as well. But again, the activity basically coming on in to central Oklahoma. So we'll come back to this live cam here in just a minute, as soon as the rain gets just a little bit closer here over the next few minutes. Let's go back to our radar here. And again, so that's kind of what's going on in central Oklahoma. And let's go and zoom out, and let's talk about what's going on for our friends up in northeastern Oklahoma, and especially around the Payne County area, and also portions of northern Lincoln County. There's still some hail, and the Weather Service, they've actually allowed this warning to expire. This warning has expired, but there's still at least some quarter plus size hail. So this area is still at least marginally severe, and this is what I'm talking about here. This is the hail core tracker. And so this is I-44, there's Kearney, and hail core tracker here. Aqua's going to yellows, going to oranges. That's still easily some quarter plus size hail. So this storm's still marginally severe, even though the warning is officially expired on it, still marginally severe there. So keep in mind, we're not really talking about widespread hail, but there are pockets of embedded hail across Oklahoma. And again, we're basically kind of honing in on those with our hail core tracker. But again, for most of the states, you're not going to see hail as we go through the evening. You're primarily just going to have wind and you're going to have rain. Let's go back to reflectivity here. And what I want to do, I want to take an overview here because a few things have changed. So the warnings in northeastern Oklahoma have basically expired. The National Weather Service up here in Tulsa has allowed the warnings basically for the Tulsa metro to expire and also for far northeastern Oklahoma. So there's still locally heavy rain. There could be winds to near 50 miles per hour. There could be vivid lightning all up through here, but the warnings are no longer in effect. That means the Weather Service is thinking the winds are no longer going to be approaching 60 miles per hour. And in fact, the National Weather Service in Norman, you see it there, our friends out there in western Oklahoma, the warnings have just expired as well. So currently, right now, we only have one warning in the state. And again, it's because of that damaging wind threat, again, on the western sides of the metro. So let's go and zoom back in on that. And let's go and take another look at this. So right now in Oklahoma, this is the only warning that we still have left in place. And we're going to look at the downtown Oklahoma City cam again here in a second. And it looks like the Weather Service, they're going to go ahead and reissue the warning out west. So they let that expire, but they just went ahead and reissued it. So, and that would make sense because there is some intermittent hail out there in western Oklahoma as well. So we'll take another look at that. So just to kind of clarify again one more time, two warnings currently in effect in Oklahoma, one on the western sides of the Oklahoma City metro, and then one out in western Oklahoma. We're going to take a look at both of those basically right now. So the one, first of all, on the western sides of the Oklahoma City metro here, again, the main reason why we have this warning, and this does include Bethany, far western Oklahoma City. It does include the airport, all the way down through Newcastle, Bridge Creek, even back up through Union City, all those locations included in the warning. But the reason for that, and let me actually kind of use the cursor here to kind of sample this again. As you see me kind of moving the cursor around, I'm able to sample the wind flow. But these are still easily some 60 plus mile per hour winds. So again, we're seeing the brighter green. And as I kind of move the cursor around, I'm able to actually see on the radar what the radar's estimating at least. But these brighter green pockets, and this is why the warning's in effect, the brighter green pockets, that's where we could still be seeing some 60 mile per hour winds. Now in general, that is tracking down towards Mustang. If it holds its intensity, it will be tracking down towards Tuttle, Bridge Creek, Newcastle, possibly even West Moore, Valley Brook, I-240, the airport as well. But this is it right there. The brighter greens, that's where we're still seeing some 60 plus mile per hour winds. And so these storms, especially on the western sides of the metro, they're still packing a punch. And keep in mind that can also cause some power disruptions as well. Quickly, let's go back to the downtown cam here. And let's see what we have going on here, because we do have rain moving through downtown now as well. And so as we look at this carefully, so we can see the streets are wet. Looks like it's maybe just now starting to rain. And we're kind of looking for the lightning and for anything else. But overall, this looks like, at least right now, a fairly moderate rain. You see the lightning there, some fairly vivid lightning. That what you're seeing right there, that's from the peak. It's the little, kind of the LED sign that they have over there that lights up. You kind of see the reflection from that there. But again, we're also seeing the lightning. So at least in downtown Oklahoma City, the lightning not super vivid. I've seen one strike at least. And it looked like it was cloud to cloud actually just a few seconds ago. And then it looks like some moderate rain there in progress. Again, that's downtown Oklahoma City. Again, live look there. And again, just kind of some intermittent lightning. So nothing too ominous, at least from the downtown Oklahoma City cam. Let's go back over to radar here. And let's go and kind of correlate what we just saw there on the downtown cam with what we're seeing on radar. And as we look at radar, and yeah, that's basically right. The heavier rain is still just north of downtown. So there's downtown Oklahoma City. That's where the live cam is, basically right there on I-40, looking into downtown. So the heavier rain still just north, but it will be sinking in. There's that one lightning strike right there that we just saw. But again, not a lot of lightning with this activity over here in Oklahoma County. Still fairly vivid lightning with the activity, though. You see those little bolts there across portions of Canadian County. So really, for Oklahoma County, it's kind of a bit of a weakening trend, but that activity, kind of that cell there in Canadian County, and it's almost getting a little bit bigger as well. It's kind of getting just a little bit wider, this severe portion of the storm. So this part here, this is kind of weakening. This here is weakening and almost kind of trying to dry up a little bit. Still some moderate rain, but this one, this cell here, it's actually getting just a little bit wider. the way it looks to me. So this may try and clip portions of Moore and Norman. And again, at least the severe threat with it right now, it is the damaging wind threat. So let's check velocities one more time. Then let's take a look at our storms out in western Oklahoma and see what's going on out there. But I just want to take a look at velocities here one more time. And yeah, I mean, we're still getting just those hot pockets of green. And so again, the main threat with this, I just want to underscore one more time in case you're just now joining us on Oklahoma Weather Tracker TV. I know there's a lot of folks watching us now. If you're just now joining us, we have a severe thunderstorm warning. This is the western sides of the Oklahoma City metro, and the primary reason for the warning, it is because of the damaging wind threat, 60 mile per hour plus winds. And again, what we're looking at here, the brighter areas of green, those at least are going to be the opportunities for those 60 plus mile per hour winds. So in general, this is sliding to the southeast. So Mustang, and then if the activity holds together, even down towards the Newcastle area, Westmore, potentially even Norman, again, if the activity does hold together, again, could see some of those damaging wind gusts. So keep that in mind, again, as this activity moves on through. So severe thunderstorm warning continues there, the western sides of the metro. The severe thunderstorm warnings up in northeastern Oklahoma, the Tulsa metro, those have all expired. Heavy rain, vivid lightning moving into the Tulsa metro. But let's go and take a look out here in western Oklahoma. Let's see what we have going on out here. Because we do have a new severe thunderstorm warning out here as well. And I just want to take a look at the hail core tracker here real quickly as well. And the main reason for that is, again, we're not really talking about widespread hail. We have had some pockets of hail out here in western Oklahoma. These continue to come down. There's still some quarters possible. South of Eakley, just east of Alfalfa, this is Caddo County. It's a fairly rural part of the state there. And then also just east of Hobart, there's another pocket of quarters possible as well. And then up here near Union City, we'll check that again here in a minute, an opportunity for some quarter plus size hail. So again, overall, as far as the hail core tracker here goes, hail not really the primary threat. Again, it's still the wind threat, again, even out here in western Oklahoma. So let's go back to reflectivity. And as we do that, again, you can still see, at least there's that opportunity for locally heavy rain. Basically, we're talking about from Binger all the way back over through the Eakley area, Alfalfa, and then all the way out through the Hobart area there as well. Again, winds, even in this segment of the line, easily 60 miles per hour as well. And again, keep in mind, just like I've mentioned several times, I know we just have more people joining us, that as we've gone through the day, we've had several reports of some 70 mile per hour winds, even confirmed off the Oklahoma Mesonet. And our friends up in the Fairview area, which is northwestern Oklahoma, they've had some fairly significant roof damage from some 70 mile per hour winds. So again, even though you're looking at this line of storms, it looks fairly scrawny, it's fairly narrow. You're thinking, well, this probably isn't doing a whole lot by Oklahoma standards. It is. These are damaging wind gusts with this activity. It's come down in intensity some from earlier, but there's still an opportunity for some 60 mile per hour winds. So definitely don't take these lightly, again, as they come through. Definitely make sure you're staying in an interior room of your house and again, away from windows as these come through as well. So let's go back into central Oklahoma. And let's see, I think we've just got one new warning issued. And it's this activity up here in Lincoln County. This has had a hail core with it. And yeah, so here we go. So the hail core is still there. The warning on this had expired for a few minutes. So this is just east of Oklahoma County. This is Chandler. This is I-44, the Turner Turnpike there. There's Agra, there's Kearney, and there's Wellston, the Wellston exit there off the Turnpike as well, just to kind of orient you. And we've got a fairly vigorous hail core here. So again, like I said, we haven't really been talking a lot about hail today. We have a couple pockets of hail. This is fairly vigorous, right there along 177 Kearney, all the way down through Wellston. There's easily some $half size hail showing up right there, and that's why we have a new severe thunderstorm warning there for Lincoln County. But that's going to be, again, because of the hail, again, moving into portions of Lincoln County. Outside of that, let's go to velocities here as well. And we're starting to get a little bit away from the radar site as we look into portions of Lincoln County here. So as we're just kind of assessing this here, there could still be some 60 plus mile per hour winds here as well. But right now that's a hail threat, basically up and down 177 from Tyrone all the way back down through the Wellston area. So let's go and zoom back out here. And even though the activity up in northeastern Oklahoma is no longer severe, I want to go and take another look at this activity. There's a definite weakening trend, I can tell you that, in northeastern Oklahoma. Now again, the warning has dropped off, probably 10 minutes ago, but again, just even looking at radar here, what's coming into the Tulsa metro, this is definitely weakening. Now there's still going to be some heavy rain, There's still going to be some lightning, but again, this activity, it's definitely weakening down from where it was earlier. But again, the Tulsa Metro, locally heavy rain. There will be some lightning mixed in. The lightning, for the most part, is even going away up here in northeastern Oklahoma. But again, locally heavy rain moving into the Tulsa Metro, a few strikes of lightning. So keep in mind, some ponding on the roadways. Again, if for any reason you have to be out and about, ponding on the roadways, there could be some localized street flooding, again, as this band of heavy rain moves through. But again, as far as the damaging wind threat, definitely going down. And again, in the Tulsa Metro, not actually seeing any lightning, at least over the last 3 minutes here off of the lightning detection network. So looks like it's mainly just locally heavy rain that's now moving into the Tulsa Metro. So again, no severe weather currently in northeastern Oklahoma, but again, we continue with that severe thunderstorm warning in Lincoln County, and then also the western sides of the Oklahoma City Metro, and then out into portions of western Oklahoma. So let's go and give you an overview, and we'll go and put this into motion here as well. And again, the main reason why we want to give an overview, again, we have folks from all over Oklahoma that are watching us, and again, that way you can see your geographical location, see what's going on. There's Fairview, again, our friends up there in Fairview that I was talking about a few minutes ago. There was some fairly significant damage. We have some pictures here. We'll try and get those loaded a little bit later on from one of our storm trackers, but there was some fairly significant roof damage in Fairview. And then also up here in Kay County around the Blackwell area off the Mesonet, we had a damaging wind gust report confirmed off the Mesonet of 71 miles per hour. So we've definitely had some high winds, some damaging winds, again, as we've gone through the afternoon, now the early evening. And again, what's basically moving into central Oklahoma and even across portions of western Oklahoma. It's still packing a punch, again, with that opportunity for some 60 mile per hour winds. So let's zoom back into portions of central Oklahoma here. And I want to go back to velocities and take a look at least at the potential for some damaging wind gusts. And real quick, before we do that, we see the heavy rain there moving in to downtown Oklahoma City. Let's go and take a look at the downtown Oklahoma City cam again one more time. You see a little bit of lightning showing up there. But let's see what we're doing as far as rainfall goes. And yeah, so some fairly vivid lightning. We're starting to see it there now. But again, overall, it looks like some moderate to moderately heavy rain falling. Very vivid lightning, though. You see that there. But again, just kind of looking at the street here, just kind of live in real time. So at least some moderately heavy rain currently falling in downtown Oklahoma City. Again, we're not seeing any kind of sideways rain. We're not seeing anything like that as we're kind of assessing it. So again, winds 30, 40 miles per hour in downtown Oklahoma City. But again, just to the west where the actual warning is, that's where the winds pick up in intensity. So let's go back to radar. And as we do that, again, the warning is just west of downtown. And as we go back to velocities here, we can actually take a look inside the storm. And as we do that, it looks like this is actually coming down some, so this is good compared to really the last 15 minutes or so. And so as we're looking at this, if you're not familiar with this radar product, these are wind velocities. This is basically the radar. The green is inbound or northwesterly winds blowing to the southeast towards the radar site. The radar is over here in northeastern Cleveland County. So these are winds towards the radar. And basically the brighter the greens, the stronger the winds. And I know that sounds basic, but if you're a radar operator, that's what you look for in this situation. Same thing the National Weather Service does. And again, where we're seeing those pockets of brighter green, that's where the higher velocity winds are. And the brighter green could easily be 50 to 60 mile per hour winds. You see it right there between Union City and Mustang, and then also back here just south of I-40, again, as those higher velocity winds continue to sink to the south. Now, it's not as intense as it was maybe 10 minutes ago. It looks like the overall intensity is coming down some. And let me go and kind of sample this with the cursor. And let's see, as I do that, I can tell you overall, where we had maybe some 60 plus mile per hour winds, at least when I'm sampling here, looks like 50 to 55. So the overall, so right now at least, and that's good. So there's an overall downward trend, even with the winds out of this activity as well. So I mean, earlier we were picking up on some 60, 65 plus mile per hour winds, but again, right now the way it looks, these are 55 to 60 mile per hour winds. So let's go and zoom back out. And I want to take a look at the hail core tracker here again, just real quick as well. And again, right around Union City, there could be some quarter-size hail. So just keep that in mind. Outside of that, at least here in the Oklahoma City metro, hail not really a threat. Again, outside of Union City, there could be some quarters there. And then as we go out into western Oklahoma, out here in Kiowa County, this is south of Mountain View. This is fairly rural. In fact, it's southeast of Gobi Bow, south of Mountain View. You see there's another pocket there. of at least, we'll call that some half-dollar size hail out there in Kiowa County. But again, outside of that, locally heavy rain, and again, winds near 60 miles per hour, quite possible out here in western Oklahoma. So again, for our friends out in that part of the state, again, as these come through, these are still packing a punch. There could easily be some 60 mile per hour winds. And I know sometimes it sounds a little cliche, but it's better, to be in an interior part of your house. Just stay away from windows as these storms come through. There's no real tornado risk. There's no really large hail that we're picking up on. But again, 50, 60 mile per hour winds, that can still do some damage. Ask our friends up there in Fairview, unfortunately, from earlier today. So, just kind of ride these out in an interior part of your house. And again, as these come through, locally heavy rain, you see the vivid lightning out here as well. And again, that opportunity for some winds, again, near 60 miles per hour out in western Oklahoma. So let's go back here into central Oklahoma. And again, we continue to have this outflow boundary moving through. So locations like Moore, if you live in Moore, you now have a northwesterly wind in place. And the reason why we have outflow from the storm. So this little green line you're seeing here, this is not rain or precipitation, but it's actually dust and a little bit of debris, maybe some insects that are being blown up from the storm. So as the winds come out from the storm, that's what you call a gust front. Out in front of the storm. So again, we still have some winds, easily 40 to maybe 50 miles per hour along that gust front. But again, the main, at least severe threat as far as damaging winds go, it's still back in the main core of the storm. And as we go back to velocities here, again, let's kind of see if that downward trend continues. Again, as we're just looking at the wind flow within the storm. And again, as I'm kind of sampling it here, there's still looks like easily some 50 to 55 mile per hour winds. But again, overall, it looks like the overall wind, at least velocities, the overall miles per hour have actually come down just some. So again, there's the broad view. I want to go back to our downtown Oklahoma City cam here just one more time. It looks like the activity is kind of picking up there just a little bit. And again, this is always kind of a good gauge to look at. Again, as storms come through, because you can see if the rain is blowing sideways, you can kind of at least get a fairly decent indication of what's going on. We've been fairly lucky with this downtown Oklahoma City cam, just kind of assessing what's going on. So you can see the heavy rain in progress for sure. Lots of vivid lightning as this activity comes on through. There's a car driving, really no problems there. So it looks like, some moderately heavy rain falling. Nothing, super intense compared to some of the other evenings when we've used this cam, and we've had a little more in the way of intense weather that's come through. But at least right now, this is a moderately heavy rain, and again, you also see that vivid lightning. Keep in mind, lightning is a threat, again, as this activity does come on through. But again, there's a really great shot there, again, from our downtown Oklahoma City cam. So let's go back to radar. And again, just to kind of give everyone an overview, we don't have a lot of new information coming in. There's not a lot of fast changing weather conditions here. So, if we kind of sound like a broken record, it's only because, more people are tuning in. Some people are tuning out, probably people are tuning in just to find out what's going on. So just kind of passing the very latest over and over. So again, we're not trying to sound like a broken record, but this is basically what's going on across Oklahoma. And we'll just kind of walk these storms through again as they come through the Oklahoma City metro. Again, if you've kind of heard your piece or we've covered your area and you got to go, we get it. But again, as other people tune in, again, we just want to be able to pass that information along. So we currently have 3 severe thunderstorm warnings in effect. And again, one of them is up here in Lincoln County. We have one on the western sides of the Oklahoma City metro, and then also on the portions of western Oklahoma. These 2 warnings are going to be for damaging wind gusts near 60 miles per hour. And this warning up here in Lincoln County is going to be for an opportunity for some hail up to the size of $half. So let's go and zoom into Lincoln County here first of all. And we haven't talked about our friends up in that part of the state in a few minutes. So let's go and zoom in there and we'll take a look and see what's going on. And again, the Weather Service issuing this warning maybe 15 minutes ago or so. And the main reason why, again, as we go to the hail core tracker, it's because of at least the opportunity for some $half size hail. And so just to kind of orient you, there's I-44 Turner Turnpike, there's Chandler, and there would be the Wellston exit right there as well. And again, we're seeing the yellows going to oranges. That's easily quarters going to $half size hail. So again, these are hailstorms here in Lincoln County. There's not a lot of widespread hail across the rest of Oklahoma. We have a couple smaller pockets, but out of the entire state, this is the only real deal hail core. So again, quarters going to $half around the Kearney area, just south of Tyrone. And again, in general, that's going to be tracking towards Chandler and the I-44 corridor, the Turner Turnpike. So you folks there, keep that in mind. Let's go back to reflectivity here. And as we do that, again, you can also see, again, it's that threat of locally heavy rain, vivid lightning, fairly intense lightning with that activity there as well. Now, for our friends up in northeastern Oklahoma, keep in mind, severe thunderstorm warnings, they basically expired. For the Tulsa Metro, no longer under a severe thunderstorm warning up there at all. Let's go up there quickly into northeastern Oklahoma, and then we'll come back here into central Oklahoma. So around the Tulsa Metro, we're picking up on a couple strikes of lightning, basically 2 lightning strikes here over the last 3 minutes, and again, basically an opportunity for some locally heavy rain. So from Owasso all the way back down through basically downtown Tulsa now, and then really over the next 15 minutes or so, this activity is going to be tracking down towards Jinx, and then potentially down towards the Bixby area there as well. But again, that activity up in the Tulsa Metro, again, no longer severe. So then far northeastern Oklahoma, we're talking about locations like Adair, back up through Veneta, even back up to Miami. Again, locally heavy rain. There is some lightning associated there, but again, that activity in northeastern Oklahoma just no longer severe. So let's come right back here into central Oklahoma, and we do continue with this severe thunderstorm warning here on the western sides of the Oklahoma City Metro. This is primarily for wind, so let's go back to velocities here. And as we do that, let me go and sample a few of these first. And as I kind of move the cursor around, we're still holding on to some 50 to 58 mile per hour winds in the brightest green. So 50 to 55. Well, I'm just kind of sampling this here as we go. As I move the cursor around, I'm kind of reading the radar. So it looks like now, compared to earlier where we had some 60 to maybe 65 mile per hour winds. It'll be interesting to see if the Weather Service extends this warning. They may let this one expire, but it looks like now the brighter greens that you're seeing, those are now winds 50, 55 miles per hour. There could be a gust mixed in near 60, but the overall wind intensity here, it is easing down some. Now that could just be for a moment in time. This could ramp back up a little bit here over the next few minutes. But again, just with the latest sweeps coming in here on radar, at least over the last 5 or 10 minutes, there's definitely been a downward trend with this activity. Now 50, 55 mile per hour winds, you know, those can still do some damage. Keep that in mind, but it's just not at that 60, 65 mile per hour wind level that it was at probably 15 minutes ago. So let's go back to reflectivity here. And again, the other, story, obviously, besides just the wind coming through, it is the locally heavy rain. It's also the lightning and the thunder, of course, making people concerned. But again, really from downtown Oklahoma City all the way back over through Spencer, the Midwest City Tinker area. Again, there's no severe weather currently there. There will be some heavy rain that moved through those locations. There will be some lightning that moves through those locations. But again, as far as the actual severe threat, it's basically in this yellow box. And you see it right there. That's where the current severe thunderstorm warning is. Now that does include the western sides of Moore, so keep that in mind. So as this comes on in, potentially, if it holds together and keeps its current intensity even down towards Norman, but again, at least the good news over, again, the last 10 minutes or so, the intensities, at least the damaging wind intensities, have come down some. So still 50, maybe some 55 mile per hour winds still possible with this, but again, also that's a fairly intense rain, intense lightning threat. Keep in mind, again, if for any reason you're out and about driving around to this, do not drive through, again, standing water. And also remember, there could be some ponding on the roadways, localized street flooding. Again, unfortunately, as we found out, again, just a little bit earlier this week, again, as these storms come in and come out fairly quickly, dumping, again, locally heavy rain. So keep that in mind, again, here in the metro. So let's go back out into western Oklahoma. And again, we're just basically covering the entire state. We're just kind of walking the radar around here slowly, kind of updating you, again, what's going on. If we're not talking about your specific location right now, again, we'll talk about it here over the next few minutes. I can guarantee you that. But again, out here in western Oklahoma, a bit of a weakening trend in portions of far western Kiowa County. And it looks like we only still have one hail core left out here in western Oklahoma. We haven't really been talking about widespread hail as we've gone through the day. There have been a few isolated pockets of hail, and we still have one. This is out here in Kiowa County. Let's zoom in here. And as we do that, it's the same hail core here, basically south of Mountain View. And again, we're seeing the yellows going to oranges there. There's easily some $half size hail, could be quite possible. So that's basically south of Highway 9, Highway 9 west out there. And again, we're seeing the yellows going to oranges. That's where at least the opportunity for that $half size hail is. Again, outside of that, you see all those little white bolts there. Again, that's all the vivid cloud to ground lightning strikes there. And that's sampled over 3 minutes. So we're not talking about like over the last hour, but again, sampled over the last 3 minutes. So these storms, especially out there in western Oklahoma, they're fairly electrically active. Again, lots of locally heavy rain also falling out there. And again, there's also an opportunity for some 60+ mile per hour winds in western Oklahoma as well. So definitely keep that in mind again for our friends out there. And some of our rural communities out there in western Oklahoma definitely have to talk about you and again let you know what's going on as well. So let's go and zoom this out. And again, just to kind of reiterate one more time, if we do sound like a broken record, obviously people are tuning in, tuning out as this activity moves through their area. So, we're kind of talking about the same thing over and over, but that's because this is what's going on. So as new people tune in, as this activity gets closer to them, we're kind of updating them as it moves out of your area and you're tuning out. That's why we kind of continue to pass some of the same information over and over. But this is the very latest. Again, we only have 3 severe thunderstorm warnings in effect. We have one in west central Oklahoma. This is primarily for wind, 60 mile per hour winds. We still have one on the western sides of the Oklahoma City metro, 50, 55, maybe a few wind gusts near 60 miles per hour, a bit of a weakening trend there. We'll take a closer look at that. And then we still have a hailstorm there just north of the Turner Turnpike across portions of Lincoln County. And again, severe thunderstorm warning continues there as well. So let's go into Lincoln County. We haven't talked about that over the last few minutes. Let's go and zoom in here. And as we do that, let's go back to the hail core tracker. This activity here was primarily warned again for severe hail. And in fact, the hail core just now sagging south of I-40. This is I-40 right there, the Turner Turnpike. There's Chandler. This activity is moving to the east and to the southeast. So this is going to track towards the Chandler area. Looks like the main hail core is going to stay just south of town. But yellow is going to oranges, $half, maybe a little bit larger there. Just south of Chandler. There could easily be some dime-sized hail there in the Aquas that again move through the Chandler area and also again cross the Turner Turnpike. But again, that's why that severe thunderstorm warning is in effect there for Lincoln County. And again, as we go back to a reflectivity, again, overall you see again the locally heavy rain and that intense lightning threat that continues there as well. From there, let's go into central Oklahoma again, and we'll talk about what's going on here. And this is still, at least as far as the reflectivity intensity, as far as the rainfall intensity, it's still holding together pretty well. Let me go and sample some of this and see if there's been any major change. And it still looks like there's some winds. It still looks like, folks, overall, it looks like these are now below 60. Not saying that it can't, kind of come back up a little bit, but 30, maybe 40 minutes ago, we had some fairly decent 60+ mile per hour gust. And as I kind of moved the cursor around a few minutes ago there and kind of sampled it, again, some of the brighter greens are what we're looking for. Those are the stronger wind gusts out of that activity. But in general, we're really seeing 50, 55 mile per hour winds. Again, a few embedded gusts near 60 could be possible, but again, generally 50, 55 miles per hour as this comes on through. Weather Service taking the warning just a little bit further back to the west there. Valley Brook, I-240 now included. Also a bigger clip of Moore now also included as well. But again, as that activity moves on through, again, like I said, winds 50 miles per hour, 50, 55 miles per hour, again, could be possible. Let's go back to reflectivity. We'll take a look at our North Norman cam. Actually, let's do that. I'm looking at it right now. We've actually got some fairly vivid lightning. Let me just kind of spin this around a little bit. And as this activity is now approaching the Norman area, let me switch over here and we'll take a look at our North Norman cam just real quick, just to kind of give you a different perspective. And almost looks a little eerie. So that's basically at Flood Street and I-35. That's the York plant there in the distance, and the Cleveland County Jail would actually be right off to the right-hand side of the screen. There's the York plant. Again, this is Flood Street. I'll pan it over just a little bit more. But again, you can see the fairly vivid, intense lightning again approaching. Let me turn this just a little bit more to the northwest here. And we'll also check our downtown OKC cam again here in just a second as well. But let me spin this around just a little bit more. And as I do that, that's basically looking due northwest. So this is the activity that's going to be approaching more fairly quickly. This would be Indian Hills Road right up here. This is I-35 over here. Indian Hills Road, Flood Street, York plant. Again, if you're familiar with this area at all, again, northern sides of Norman. So again, this is the activity that's now basically approaching the Moore and eventually towards the Norman area as well. But again, you can see the vivid lightning. I mean, these storms, they are fairly electrically active. And again, this will continue to kind of sag on in. So we'll continue to use this cam and check back here in just a second with that. And I also want to go to the downtown Oklahoma City cam. Again, we'll check back with that here in just a second. So again, as we're taking a look at live radar again here in central Oklahoma, that's basically what's going on. So let's go and zoom out here. And I want to go into portions of western Oklahoma. And again, we continue with severe thunderstorm warnings out here. It looks like there is a weakening trend in western Oklahoma. Now, right there around the Kearney area, not so much. But it looks like the kind of the westward flank of that. I'm also looking at some new information here as well, so kind of bear with me there. But the westward flank of this, especially out here near the Roosevelt area, out here towards Babbs, this is Kiowa County here, Highway 183 there. That's starting to weaken there for sure. Still fairly vigorous activity though from Mountain View all the way up through the Carnegie area, and that's also where we've had that hail core. Again, we're not really talking about widespread hail, but again, there have been a few pockets of hail. Let's go take a look at the hail core tracker here, down here in southwestern Oklahoma. And there's still at least an opportunity for some quarters. There could be some half-dollar size hail mixed in. This is fairly rural. Once you get south, this is Highway 9 West, basically old Highway 9 West there through Mountain View. So south of that, this is really fairly rural. In fact, it's even some of the Wichita Mountains down through there. But again, basically what we're seeing here, there's an opportunity for some quarter, maybe some half-dollars right there. So again, you know, the hail cores that we're talking about, fairly few and far between, but there is at least one down here in southwestern Oklahoma. So let's go back to reflectivity here. And again, you can see again that locally heavy rain and intense lightning threat down in southwestern Oklahoma as well. So let's go and pull the radar around. I also want to talk real quick about northeastern Oklahoma as well. There's currently no severe weather in northeastern Oklahoma. And in fact, most of the lightning is even starting to go away in northeastern Oklahoma, except for really over here southeast of Bonita, over here in Delaware County. You see the lightning there. That's still a fairly vigorous core. It's not severe, but even in Tulsa, we've got a band of locally heavy rain moving through. There's one lightning strike here south of Claremore. So again, these storms are not very electrically active. We're mainly talking about just moderate to moderately heavy rain that's now moving through downtown Tulsa, eventually down towards Bixby and Jinx on the southern sides of town here over the next 30 minutes as well. But again, no severe weather now in northeastern Oklahoma. So let's come back down into central Oklahoma. Okay, so this is good news here. So the Weather Service, they did go ahead and allow that warning on the western sides of Oklahoma City. They did allow that one to go ahead and expire. You know, we've kind of been monitoring radar here. Again, it looked like, so for a storm to be severe, you basically need 60-mile-per-hour winds. And again, we were basically seeing live wind gusts there, 50, 55 on average. And we weren't really picking up on any more of those 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. So basically the Weather Service seeing the same thing, and they went ahead and dropped that warning off. Still locally heavy rain moving through. Again, moving through more right now, Valley Brook, I-240, and basically even all the way up through downtown Oklahoma City, Mustang, even back over through Tuttle. Again, locally heavy rain falling in all those locations. But again, at least the damaging wind threat, at least right now, again, easing on down. So let's go back to the broad view here. And again, so what we have right now are just really two severe thunderstorm warnings left. Again, one up in Lincoln County and then one out there across portions of southwestern Oklahoma. Again, locally heavy rain falling as well, regardless of where you are in the state. As these come through, again, if for any reason, if you're out in your car, driving around, doing anything like that, keep in mind ponding on the roadways and also never drive through standing water. These are putting down a torrential amount of rain in a short period of time. And again, as we found out here in central Oklahoma earlier in the week, again, not good situations when that happens. So again, just keep that in mind. Don't drive through standing water. So that's where we are, folks. We're going to take a quick break. Again, now since the warning again here in central Oklahoma has expired, we've been on live really for most of the night. My voice is almost completely gone. I need to just take a drink of water, I think, and we'll be back at it. But we're going to take a quick break here again, just with that warning expiring, and we'll have another live update here in about 10 minutes. Keep it here with Oklahoma Weather Tracker TV. We'll keep you up to date with the latest live weather information for Oklahoma.